Welcome to week 4 of our family dinner Bible study series. Today we're going to take a look at Matthew chapter 22, verses 1 through 14. And this is the story of the wedding feast. And in this story, we see that there's a king who prepares a feast and he sends out an invitation and invites people to his feast. But they start making excuses and they don't come. Well, it was very customary in this time that you would send out 2 invitations. One, the invitation would be inviting them to the feast. And the second one would let them know that the feast is ready and that they should come and attend. Well, what I want you to see in this story as you read it is you're going to see that Jesus, that in this story, he sends out 3 invitations because Jesus wants us to see how important the invitation that he is sending out, how important it is for us to attend this feast. Not only does he invite us once, he invites us 3 times to the wedding feast. So take a second and read the story, and then we'll take some time and discuss these discussion questions. We're going to take a look at points number 1 and number 2 together. Number 1 says recognize the signs, and number 2 says respond to the invitation. Listen, I have to admit, these 2 are the most important discussion questions that we have ever discussed because it is simply asking, are you going to respond to the invitation that Jesus gives us? Because in Matthew 24, it says, so you too must keep watch, for you don't know what day your Lord is coming. And then I also love how that in Luke 14:17, which is the same story, just in Luke, it says, come, the banquet is ready. See, Jesus has sent us the invitation, but I think people fall into 2 categories. One, the category of those who continue to make excuses. And the second is those who have realized that there's a sense of urgency because we don't know when Jesus is going to return, and they have responded to the feast, to his invitation to the wedding feast. So I want you to take some time to ask yourself honestly, which category do you fall in? Do you recognize that there is a sense of urgency and you have accepted his invitation to the table, or do you continue to make excuses like those who were invited to the party? Point number 3 says, reach out to invite others. You see, when we accept the invitation to the table, then we're also accepting the responsibility that comes. And there's a responsibility for us to begin to serve, to begin to share that very same invitation that we have been given with others. You know, I'm a pastor here at Community, and I have regrets from my time working in the corporate world. I was daily surrounded with those that do not know Christ. Now, here, because I work at a church every day, I'm surrounded with those who do know Christ. But when I was working in the law firm that I was working at, I was not actively sharing the invitation with those around. So much so that there was a young lady who accepted Christ one day by a friend of hers, and she began to attend church and she began to study the word and begin to really fall in love with Christ. That she confronted me one day and asked me, Neal, you knew this the whole time. Why didn't you share it with me? You talk about feeling guilty because I was not reaching out, inviting others. So take a second and begin to look around your life. And do you have family members that don't know Christ? Do you have coworkers? Look, do you have enemies? We are even given the responsibility of sharing with our enemies, that those that don't know Christ. Take a second, think about your life and think of someone in your life that has not accepted this invitation, that you could share the invitation to the banqueting feast. Point number 4 says, rejoice in Jesus. Revelations 19 verses 8 through 9 says, she has been given the finest of pure white linen to wear, For the fine linen represents the good deeds of God's holy people. And the angel said to me, write this, blessed are those who are invited to the wedding feast of the Lamb. And he added, these are the true words that come from God. Blessed are those who are invited to the wedding feast. You know what? In this life, we are not promised that every day is going to be sunshine and roses. We are going to have trouble, the Bible says. There are going to be moments where things are not great. But blessed are those who are invited to the wedding feast. Blessed are those who've accepted the invitation. What things in your life, because you've accepted the invitation, can you count as a blessing? I tell you what, one blessing is that when you come to the table, you join a family. You have family members that love you, that care for you, that want to pray for you. You also gain fellowship. You never have to be alone. During this whole time of being separated during COVID, I was never alone because, number one, I do have immediate family, wife and children that love me, but I was always in fellowship the entire time with my church family. What blessings in your life have you received by joining the feast?